The state of the nation is what we're really looking at today on the big story. Like I said, we're looking at the issues that seems to be playing out in the country as it stands. And as you do know, the NLC and TUC and its affiliates have called for an industrial action that started 12 midnight. And the reports we're having is that, well, it looks as if some unions are really going ahead with that very call by the TUC and NLC. But we're giving you a full update as the day progresses on whether the strike is ongoing and is fully being implemented by the different affiliates of the NLC and TUC. But anyway, we're still looking at the issues, and that's what we're having on the big story today. We're talking about the state of the nation. We're looking at the strike. We'll definitely look at insecurity and the economy that's recently taking a hit. But anyway, as much as we'll say that, we still have our guests here. I'm talking of no other person but Mr. Gideon Oguns. But we need to go on that break and get a message from our sponsors. And we're talking about Benita Gas, located right here in Ugeli, Okokoko, Warrior, and environs. And when we come back, more discussion, all on the state of the nation.
Gas matter, oh yeah, follow Benetta. Gas with the better quality, Benetta gas where they full rich man to Benetta gas. Delivery brother na sharp value, Benetta gas no mango mango, Benetta gas. Different type of gas cylinder, I mean that gas where go last you well out, Benetta gas matter, Benetta now do. Them they run Benetta make you carry go.
For gas matter and home delivery, make a wire Benetta gas plant for 080-6745-7890 and 080-5904-7722. Benetta gas plant, the etequele of gas matters.
Well, still talking about what really matters, and that's the state of the nation, and that's what we're looking at right here on the big story. But anyway, let's quickly go to it. In case you're joining us, we talked initially in the very first half of our discussion. We looked critically at the reason why NLC seems to be with a strike, or definitely calling on the strike, and what really transpired that led to all of it, as much as we also looked at the response coming from the federal government as it concerns that very strike. But anyway, we need to strike a chord here, and or rather an accord, to see how we can truly move forward as a nation. And the honest truth is the economy seems to be taking the greatest hit, and will take the greatest hit on account of this strike. And that's why I feel a whole lot of persons are also calling on the Nigerian Labour Congress and the TUC to definitely have a rethink, especially as it concerns the strike. But anyway, that's not where my questions lie. Now, looking at the response from both the TUC, NLC, and the affiliates, and also the federal government, it has not been a one of reconciliation or resolution. It looks as if they are all sticking to their guns, and like I said, the economy would suffer. But for you, what do you feel would be the best approach to deal with this present state that we are in as it concerns the strike action?
If I were to be government, this is one of the strikes that is easiest to resolve.
Easiest?
Yeah. Because the issue in the front burner for the unionists is the assault case. Then the issue of a living wage. We could itemize them. And for each of them, they are easily resolved. For example, if I hurt you, and I come to sincerely apologize, you discover that even among the aggressors, there will be peaceful people who will say, okay, the guy have apologized, why not?
Well, let's
I believe that all this front and back is something that can be rested. The elections in Imo State have come and gone. So what stopped Uzodima and calling him and say, oh, truly, I'm sorry. even make some reparations, okay? All your medical bills and whatever. And a strong worded statement that such things will not be tolerated, though it happened here, but I condemn it. And the federal do the same thing. That's the best you can do, because if you hurt someone, you cannot undo what you have done. But you should be able to own up to it, that you did it and you are sorry. So that will have dealt with that. On the issue of a living wage, we also know that it is not a straitjacket, because it's a law. So if we have a battle to fight, we should take the battle to the National Assembly, where the law on minimum wage should be addressed. If they could pass certain laws within a reasonable time, why not do same to that which affects so many other persons? But they are not taking the fight there. Rather, they are fighting the executive. In my opinion, that is not also well placed. So if I were the executive, channeled by the Minister for Labour, I will have called them and said, okay, you want this law changed? We have already made proposals to them to change it. But that's where my ability stops. So that's that. Now, for union, who is already losing friction or traction on Nigerians. Nigerians are getting fed up with in-season strikes. Why? The purposes for which they are going on strike don't better everyone. From the time of even Adan Shomole, where they said they should not sell the refineries, we now begin to see that the purpose for which they were against sales of the refinery was because their members were earning salaries. So it's not a thing that we should do. 200 million Nigerians are hungry. Okay, let's be more exact. Over 143 or 140
if not
million
205
are hungry.
Million Nigerians.
The impact of
the rich also cry now.
Or the impact of AGO, that diesel, kerosene,
and petrol,
even cooking gas, on the life, the energy needs of Nigerians is so horrible. Have NLC declared a strike to push the government to declare a state of emergency on such a thing that costs across board, whether you are a government employee or a private or OPS, as we call them, organized private sector. So the point we are bringing is, let the union push itself from where it is. If they are saying now they will only be fighting for those for whom they collect their monthly, what do they call it, dues, then they are no longer relevant to all of us.
So do you feel their recent fight is more personal?
It's because one of them is touched. Yes, one of them is touched. So we are having that feeling, because the things that in 2023 that are biting 1 million people is not in the front burner. The one that have affected one person, I'm not saying it's right, it's also wrong. That it affects one person is not the reason you are championing.
It's right.
It doesn't really add up. But I don't want to agree in saying this. I'm not saying what the media person or the presidency said is correct. Because you have to situate the situations properly. If you let something that is wrong to continually be done, it will extend, and very soon everybody will now become a norm.
Okay, now still looking at it, because I said something initially, that the reason everybody is pleading with them is because of the economy, which seems to be on its knees. And to further protest that, KPMG only came out yesterday to say in its
by December,
in its macroeconomic review of first quarter of 2023 and also second quarter of 2023, he projected a 30% inflation rate as it concerns two major indicators. He said the two culprits for the increase in inflation is the removal of the subsidy and forex issues, fluctuation. And he says that it will persist and even become worse in December. So, but that brings me up to my question. Now, my question is, before now, we had measures this administration has put in place to help bring down the inflation. Why are those measures not working? And to further that question, what does the government need to do? Because inflation is putting everybody on its knees. All Nigerians, many Nigerians are having sleepless nights on account of inflation. You can't wake up this morning, go to the markets and buy a certain product, and if you sleep and wake up the next morning, you're most likely not to see that same product with the same price. And in all indication, according to KPMG, December things will be very, very expensive. So why is it not working?
Well, that they are not working, I don't think that is a statement I want to take. Why have they not made the desired impact?
That's the question.
I think that's what you are trying to
Yes.
say. We sat here some time ago, Mike, and I told you that an economy is a multidimensional thing. So piling pressure on a particular segment of the economy, doing little next to nothing on the other sides of the economy, you won't get any impact. Forgive me if I use something that I can situate for people to see.
Okay, let's understand.
A house is leaking, right? So the roof, the point at which it is leaking from the roof is identified.
Okay.
But maybe because there is not sufficient funds
To help deal with it.
we decided to buy a plastic rubber to put at the base where it is
Leaking.
pouring. Now, the fact is, the water is not going to be littering the whole floor anymore, but it's not been stopped.
From leaking.
So, if we want to stop it, then we need the carpenter. We need the roof changed. And if possible, the tiles that must have been defaced as a result of water, cleaned up or replaced, then the beauty of the house will be restored. So what are we doing about our economy?
You say we are doing window dressing.
Oh, you said so.
Okay.
So what would this government have done? Let me go to one of the key drivers KPMG is speaking on. The fluctuation in the forex market.
Yes. Forex
I have
market.
told you here that forex is driven by demand and supply. Now, why should government be addressing only the demand side
And not the supply.
and not the demand and supply side? Because that's the issue. All the policies so far, bridging of the markets, trying to remove the arbitrage, all that we have heard so far is just to ensure that the demand side, there is dollar to take. Okay. Don't you know that dollar coming, if they begin to exceed what people are looking for, ordinarily, the price will come down.
Of course.
So why not begin to say, what are the things that can give us more dollar? For instance, again, limiting it to just this. Why not move your oil, OPEC quota of oil is at 2.1 for Nigeria.
Million barrels per day.
So why not move and do anything and everything you can do
To almost 3
to
million.
move from 1.32 that we are to maybe 1.8 or 2 million barrel per day? That gives you an increased quantum of dollars. That's just one. Why not ensure that anyone who wants to do an international business with Nigeria should do it with either dollar or naira, being specific. So that if you are doing it in naira, you bring your dollar here. We change it to what? To naira.
So
We
have
have dollars. But here we are in Nigeria, people coming to do business with us, do them in dollars.
I know it's not in our hands.
It's not in our hands. So you hear of backlog of dollars agreements that cannot be made. So much pressure on the market. The dollars are inadequate. The demand is exceeding supply. And elementary economics tells you that once demand exceeds supply, the price goes to the north. So these are simple things that I believe that a serious government sitting down will look at it and get it resolved. Look at gas. It's something that we are abundantly blessed with.
Yes, yet we buy it
We can,
at international price.
I'm going, it's everywhere in the world is sold at international price. But the point I'm bringing is this. We can produce to a point that we begin to export cooking gas.
And make additional
So
funds.
I am talking of the supply side that will now make dollar inflow to increase. But what do? We speak politics over it. The bottom line is, because the demand side is not favoring production and government is not deliberate to increase production, the needs of the producer not being met, even production on its own now is nosediving. It's coming to the south. So why dollar is going to the north, production is coming to the south. So why will prices or inflation
Not skyrocket.
And remember, we are just in 26 point something. And if the same rate of inflation continues, which is 4 point something, then that is 30. That is 30.
Okay, now, anyway, yeah, okay. Well, let's look at another major issue, because we're looking at the state of the nation, and talk about something that is also interwoven with the economy. And we're talking about insecurity. And talking about insecurity, you agree with me that things have not really been rosy for Nigerians. Recently, just yesterday to be precise, the Minister of Defense, Bello Matewale, said it looks as if banditry, or rather insecurity, has now become a big business. And to take credence to what he said, go to Daily Trust of today. Bandits are now burning farms in Niger State and imposing tax. And funny enough, not just only imposing tax, but often dropping their contact number that you need to call to pay your tax. So my question is, yes, we've known government has had some few successes when it comes to insecurity, with the National Security Advisor yesterday coming out to say, well, kudos to some of the successes we've had. But my question is, how can we reel in true successes as it concerns insecurity, and not just deal with the insecurity, but in every way improve the climate of doing business in the country?
Okay, these are two separate things. You are going. But let me deal with the one of insecurity.
Insecurity is paramount.
Now, the problem I have with insecurity, Matawale's statement is just a voice to that which have been known
before now.
The solid minerals in the north, who mines them? The emirs in the north, don't they know who actually royalties are paid to? We are in this country where a traditional ruler turbaned
a well-known bandit. I call him Brakadede.
So he was just putting a voice to an obvious thing. So if you are thinking of curbing insecurity, again, at the risk of not trying to advise the security people, because they are experts in their own profession. But the point is, number one, these bandits are not spirits. There are some people's children, uncles, aunties, as the case may be. All I'm trying to say is they are reachable people.
And funny enough, some of them drop their numbers.
Yeah, they are reachable people. Yeah. Therefore, they could be engaged either with the carrot and stick approach, with the kinetic approach, with the military approach, whichever you want to. But they are reachable persons. So why is government not wanting to reach out to them? That is way number one to solving the problem. Number two, because they are not mystic, they have a philosophy that is undermining what they are doing. They are doing it based on something. Let's go to Niger State. Niger State is a vast land that today we are understanding that bandits come from anywhere, house there, and begin to rule. So, I don't know how large their land space is, but because the land is not being used, it is now housing many things. Let me go to Edo State just to trace what I'm saying. We had how some group of persons were in the forest, and somehow the locals were able to cry out to certain authorities that there are people now inhabiting our forests. And the government said, let's chase them away. If you don't want to go away, come into the town so that we can know you. But if we cannot index you, you cannot be in our forest. Thirdly, let's remove religious toga
into it.
Nigeria is not fighting a religious war, and in my opinion, Nigeria is fighting with hunger. And some people, just like you have the war merchants, who when the wars are fought, they feed their companies, their investment goes. Today, there are people fighting Nigeria with hunger. So they stack everything and push people away. And when you are hungry, you don't have a choice. You begin to beg your captor. That's why they will come to your farm and tell you that if you don't pay, we will burn it. And you don't have a choice. So you see that these are all things government could do something about if we are serious. From the local government, from the district heads. If you talk to them, they don't agree, and you give that information to the appropriate quarter, and the appropriate quarter uses it and move to the... All these can be nipped in bud.
Okay, I know we need to really do that, but what we also need to do is go on a break, and when we come back, more discussion centered on the big story for today. We're talking about the state of the nation.